From the William B. Travis Building in Austin, Texas, we're keeping Texas energy on track. Here's your host, Bryce Doobie.
Welcome to Texas Energy on Track, the official podcast of the Railroad Commission of Texas. I'm your host, Bryce Doobie, joined by my co-host and producer, Nick Craynock. Nick, sir, how are you doing?
Always great to be back here recording for the podcast. Trying to change things up a little bit, talking about district offices. We have a ton across the state. We're not just based in Austin, so maybe a lot of people may not know that. I think that we can shed some light on just a different aspect of what the commission does in one section of the state.
Yeah, no, it's always good. Today is going to be another one of our reaching out and talking to a district office to learn a little bit more about some of the things. As we know, all these districts are unique. They all have their own unique problem sets, challenges, opportunities, environments, things like that. So today we are thrilled to be joined by Blake Ramon. He is the district director for the Wichita Falls District. Sir, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Now, you've just tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you been at the commission? A little bit about your role and just sort of your background even before you came to the RRC.
So I've been with the commission for 14 years. My role as district director here has kind of been a ground up. Starting out as a field inspector or maybe below a field inspector. And then I started Midwestern State University here in Wichita Falls, local university here. Finished up my Bachelor of Geosciences here and then kind of worked my way across and started with the Railroad Commission and have been here ever since.
Oh, wow. And prior to this, you were also the deputy director in this district, I understand?
Yeah, I was an assistant director for 9 years.
So just from that background as a prior inspector and things, I mean, you really know kind of what it's like there being boots on the ground out there in the field. Does that really help you as far as in your role now in like more of a leadership position to really understand where folks are coming from?
Yeah, I think that was a big key in my role stepping in as a field inspector. And I've seen every aspect of the commission here in the district office, and that's really been a big part of it. Hopefully I'm still connected enough with a field inspector that I understand what they really need in the field down to the minimal level of it. And that's really been a big key that I think.
Now, I mean, speaking with this district for our listeners out there, tell us a little bit about the Wichita Falls District. Where does it kind of span? What's sort of some of the general trends and things for folks who may not know about what goes on in your neck of the woods?
So our Wichita Falls District Office covers 15 counties along the kind of the north central part of Texas along the Red River and a couple of counties further south. So yeah, we have 15 counties. It's a diverse production environment is what I always say. We have a lot of this older stuff that's been around for the past 120 years in Wichita County where we're at. And then a lot of some of the newer technology, newer wells, newer production in the Barnett Shale in our southeastern counties, Denton and Wise counties. So we're spread out and pretty diverse across our district.
And what sort of, I imagine that would bring some operational challenges as far as inspections and things when you're looking at that older infrastructure or even the newer things. What are some of the challenges that are unique to your district?
Yeah, so with a lot of the older production, these operators are still operating with some technologies from the 40s and 50s and some that were even earlier than that. So we're trying to get a good basis for that and having the knowledge of that. It really gets to be a challenge whenever we go back and maybe plug a well or operators plugging a well and trying to understand practices from way back then. And then we have newer tools, newer wellhead, newer equipment in the Barnett Shale, along with everything else in between. So it's a big challenge, and it creates a large diversity and really for our field inspectors out there, a large volume of knowledge to kind of understand what goes on in moving in between different wells or different leases.
Now, speaking sort of with that Barnett Shale and those newer technologies, you've been in this district, like you said, for 14 years now. What are some of the biggest changes you've really seen during your time there?
I think on the commission level, a lot of the technology that is available to us now, from the laptops, the smartphones, the ice, and just even new equipment, new trucks that are available for us, but also seeing kind of what our job prioritization is, being out there to witness different jobs in different counties and being spread out so far. 15 counties doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're spread 2 or 3 hours across a district, it really puts a lot of weight on us to manage how we're our job functions and our job processes.
Yeah, I can't even really imagine some of these. I know I've been up to Wichita Falls before with a prior job and was driving around, and just some of those areas you get going it's really big spaces. So it's always impressive to hear what our field inspectors are doing out there every single day, really putting in miles and things. So it's interesting to really get a better understanding of all of that with each of these districts. I mean, I guess sort of speaking to what they're doing out there, what are some of the compliance issues that have historically been most common in your district? I know you mentioned some older wells and things like that. What are some of the things that you see out there trend-wise with the inspections?
So a lot of the older production, one of their biggest challenges is orphan wells, obviously. I think that's in any older production fields, the orphan wells out there, but also pollution. You see a lot of these wells out there that seem like have been leaking forever, and tanks that might be leaking. Orphan wells and pollution, those are some of the bigger compliance issues that we face on a daily basis. So we kind of meet those challenges the best we can and try to mitigate them the best we can.
And what is sort of your approach with that? I know because one thing with the commission is really that we've talked to some of our folks here on the enforcement side, and at the end of the day, the goal is always compliance. So how do you really balance enforcement piece of that with these really maintaining these relationships with operators?
I really think it's kind of a two-part deal. One, we have to understand that a lot of these operators are trying to get into compliance one thing, and on the other side of it, they really have to understand that we have a job to do, and we're trying to get them into compliance. As you said, kind of at the end of the day, we want them to be in compliance. I live in a little small town north of Wichita Falls. You may see these same operators at the grocery store. So you got to really build this relationship with them.
Blake, I think that's the key point you're talking about, seeing some of these operators or things in the grocery store, seeing them about town. I know that you also travel across the state. You go to conferences and things like that to represent the commission, and you answer a lot of questions from either landowners or operators themselves. What's that mean to you, being able to get out across the state to actually see people, in person, getting to talk to them one-on-one, and maybe passing along information or potentially even diffusing any tense situations?
Yeah, I will say that I've been very fortunate in my position to go out and travel, and that's kind of where I met Nick. I was at the Cattle Raisers Convention in Fort Worth, and we get a lot of customers from that. But it's a little different situation when you can meet landowners out there face to face. Same way with operators at different events. We had a kind of an outreach with communications here in Wichita Falls back last year, discussing new rule changes, and was able to meet with a large group of operators in Wichita Falls. And it really diffuses the situation out there with them, but really creates an open line of communications that they feel comfortable calling in and talking to us. We feel the same way. We can call and work things out and really get everybody on the same page. Really reduces the hostility sometimes between both parties. But I think just being out there and doing the best we can to be open and available, and at any local oil and gas events or any other public outreach events, really helps our situation, that we're not we're just trying to out there to help the public.
And I think I can piggyback on that as well about caring. I mean, I think you've been involved in countless environmental protection efforts, at your district office and for the commission. Which initiatives or improvements would you say that you're most proud of?
I think one of the biggest environmental protection efforts that I was a part of was just here recently. At the end of 2025, State Managed Plugging was able to plug a well that was in the Brazos River that had been leaking. It was quite the effort out there. The contractors built a pad in the middle of the river. The waters were down. We were able to build a pad out there and rig up and get a well plug to kind of eliminate some of this environmental threat. And that was kind of a bigger feat that I was still very proud of. And I think everybody else in our district office felt proud of, that we got this well finally plugged and eliminated that threat.
Yeah, I'm continually impressed by every time I hear some of these stories from our state managed pluggers, the work that goes into some of these. I mean, because there is the more routine projects, but every now and then you get some of those ones like that. Like, yeah, there's a well in the middle of a river we need to plug, or there's like a unique challenge, and they really put in some incredible work. I know Nick and I have talked. I think we're going to get some plugging experts on here. Again, we've talked well plugging before, but I want to get some more kind of stories from the field on some of these big projects like that, because those are always just really interesting to hear, especially when it kind of ties all back to the work that we do with environmental protection and things. I mean, speaking to all of that, I mean, when we're talking plugging and all these things, how do you really ensure that like groundwater protection remains just a top priority just in the day-to-day operations?
Groundwater protection, that's our big focus, and kind of our three top priority jobs really focus focused on that. So witnessing operator plug and abandonment, witnessing MITs on injection wells or disposal wells, along with witnessing the cementing of casing. Those top 3 jobs really, they really hit hard at protecting groundwater, ensuring there's fresh water for generations to come by doing that. So we kind of see the life of the well from beginning with the setting of casing, and then at the end, ensuring that they set proper plugs in there to protect groundwater.
Now I have a question. Speaking with your district, are there any unique sort of environmental risks relevant to the region? And how do you guys really sort of tackle those sort of things? I know, like I said, every district is a little bit different on some of this stuff. So what are some of the things to know about Wichita Falls?
I would say, going back to some of these other things that we kind of focus on, the enforcement issues, the orphan wells and the pollution. Some of these orphan wells that have been drilled early 1920s, we plugged one here several months back, going back to some of these wild orphan well stories that had wooden plugs in it. It was drilled in 1924, and it had wooden plugs that were set in it for groundwater protection. That was kind of unique. We face these historic issues. I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges that we're facing up here is historic issues. Obviously, regulation was what it was back then, but now we're kind of left dealing with that, and it's a unique challenge for sure. And some of the, especially in older oil and gas fields.
And now with these with the newer wells and things, how do you work with operators to prevent wells as they're coming through their life cycle from becoming orphaned really in the first place?
We really got to give them the most opportunity as possible to get in compliance. A lot of these operators want to be in compliance, and we just really have to give them the opportunity to do so. Obviously, we can't have pollution going on. We got to mitigate that first and foremost.
There's really sort of a balance to all of that, and I think that is really kind of important for you to key in on there. Speaking more broadly to, beyond operators, landowners, just the general public, what would you want them to understand about the Railroad Commission's commitment to safety?
I would say when the public sees us out there on a ranch or a property, we're out there to do a job, obviously to ensure compliance. First and foremost is what our job is, to ensure protection of our natural resources, and we do it best we can. I think that's really if I could overstress that enough, these guys are out there, this team in particular, as well as across the state.
Now I have a question, just sort of out of curiosity here, because you mentioned just with your background starting off as a field inspector and things, what is that sort of day-to-day life like? What is really sort of in a field inspector's job from your perspective? Just for the listeners who may not know, when they see that truck go by on the highway or whatever, what are these guys out doing?
So an operator may call in a job notification within a given time. It may be a 24-hour notice or maybe a 4-hour notice sometime prior. And usually our lead inspector is kind of dispatching jobs to that field inspector. So once they receive that job, or it may go through inspection, compliance, and enforcement, they get that job with a time, and they're going out to catch that job, coordinating with that operator to witness setting of the plug or witnessing MIT or setting casing. And there may be one job, there may be 10 jobs. It kind of depends on what their workload is for that county or what county they're assigned in. But yeah, a lot of these field inspectors keep the road hot, going back and forth across the county or across multiple counties to witness these jobs.
So you said the inspectors are out, covering potentially multiple counties. Is that typical for an inspector? Because you mentioned you're, covering really from around Wichita Falls over to, I think you said Denton County. That's pretty big distance. Do you have many inspectors that say, all right, we're going to be in this county this morning, this afternoon, I got to drive, this far? You guys cover a lot of ground. And also, is that difficult to do as an inspector to cover that much territory during a day?
So most inspectors have one, maybe two counties, depending on well population per that county. One of our inspectors, he primarily covers Wichita County, and we actually have two inspectors for Wichita County. But some of these lower populated counties may have one inspector per two counties, or maybe three counties, depending on what workload is. We try to balance it out the best we can, so they're not overloaded with jobs, but sometimes that's just the way it works for a county to maybe have 5 or 6, 7 jobs for that given day. And we try to diverse our resources and manpower so we can accomplish as much as possible. But sometimes they maybe end up traveling from one side of the county to the next, or maybe into the next county. So that makes for a full day when you're out there doing it on a daily basis.
Yeah, because the one thing I have learned in my years living in Texas, not being originally from here, some of these counties are big, and you can put on a lot of miles really quickly. When you mentioned it earlier, I'd be interested in hearing a little bit more about it with you. Some of these technology that really is at the hand of the inspectors for the staff things. Having tablets out and laptops when they're out at work in the field and things like that. What was the process like sort of before that, and really what does that sort of benefit them?
I would fortunate, I guess, to start out originally with one of the inspectors who I trained with. He was still doing paper copies of the old D forms, if anybody out there remembers those. I started out with those, and he was still using paper maps. So we transitioned from that to doing some fillable Excel sheet, and then later on in 2015 moved into a new program called Inspection Compliance and Enforcement, and that's where all of our jobs are notifications are created and all the inspections are created, and that has been a very big tool for us. It really streamlines our work processes. Along with that, smartphones, being able to communicate with text or Teams or emails has been a huge factor for that, and able to do research out there in the field along with their laptops. And then map, we've been very fortunate to have a couple of good mapping programs. Our inspectors have access to global mappers, so they're out there to actually see where they're going, kind of map out where they want to go, and spot out wells and spot out other things they need to be on the lookout for in the field. And the technology has been a huge help for kind of the way we do business here in the district office.
I didn't even think that you had mentioned paper maps, and that didn't even cross my mind. It's like, yeah, there was a time not that far back where, hey, you need to go. That's really interesting to think about. Like, it would have been like pulling it up and looking at grids and trying to figure all that out on the hood of your truck somewhere.
You think about it, I mean, you pull off the side of the road, pull out the map on your hood, kind of figure out, hey, is this the right property? Because, a lot of that's out there, but now you got the map, you could pull over, zoom in. Oh, yep, I'm in the right spot. Here's my mark. Here's what it looks like. Oh, it's just right up there. I mean, I can't even imagine that. Just even wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, so I was brand new, and the first inspector I was with, we stopped at a lease, and he pulled out a paper proration schedule. And then he pulled out a map that was about a map book that was about 3 inches thick. And he said, I think we're going to go right here. And he was able to kind of navigate his way around since he'd been there before. But it was kind of different for me. A lot of people hadn't experienced that, and especially I hadn't experienced that. So that was a very unique challenge that I saw firsthand.
Really interesting. That had not crossed my mind when we talk about all these different pieces of technology that come to the commission. Just something as simple as that. Having worked with this team, and you've been, again, we've mentioned with this office for a little while now, how would you really describe sort of the culture of the Wichita Falls office?
I will say that this office is a very motivated team. From what I see in the field, what they're able to get done, any special projects that come through, they're more than willing, and they're always looking to succeed. That's the whole team. From field inspectors, tech staff, admin staff, district office leadership, we're all motivated, looking to succeed, and I think all of this team has really bought in to everything the commission does. It's kind of funny because a lot of these field inspectors, what I hear is they have a little bit of a very fun competition of how many jobs they can get and how many inspections they can conduct, and it's really good to see for my part of it.
And I guess from your perspective as well, I mean, having gone from field inspector to district director, what do you really hope is going to be your legacy for the district office, both for your team and for the communities as well?
I would say probably as a legacy, I would think that for those that look back at the team that we had, kind of what, as we mentioned a while ago, the kind of the culture here that we had at this time, how our team wanted to succeed and do the best job possible, but also for the counties, the districts that we serve, or in the district that we serve in, how we did our ultimate best to protect our natural resources and hopefully leave it a little bit better than it was before.
And appreciate you joining us today. Again, really, it's always good when we're able to hear from the districts because everyone has such interesting perspective on things. So thank you so much for taking time out of your very, very busy day to talk to us.
You're very welcome. I was glad to be a part of it. It's always good for me to kind of let everybody know what the district office does from our perspective out here, and hopefully everybody has a better understanding of what we do.
So just like we've been, learning about the district office out in Wichita Falls, if you'd like to learn more about the commission, and we also will be diving into more district offices and unique challenges of, location of what they deal with throughout the next several months and the next, I don't know if you call it a season of our podcast, but, in the future, you can always remember, follow along on your favorite podcast app. We're out there, as you would know, you're listening, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible. We're on Amazon Alexa, iHeartRadio, We make it pretty easy for you to follow along, but you got to make sure you subscribe so you get those notifications whenever a new episode is launched every other Wednesday. You can see, oh, hey, this one, oh, cool, we're talking about the Wichita Falls District Office. I wonder what they do. And you can spread the word to other people. But the biggest thing is to make sure you subscribe on your favorite podcast app. And then for more podcast information or just Railroad Commission information, you can follow along on X. We are at TXRRC. And then just look for Railroad Commission of Texas on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. We're on YouTube. We're out there pretty easily. Make it easy for you to follow along. And if you do want to know more about the commission too, we post content there. And then also the one I always forget, I actually remembered it this time, Bryce, we are on the web, obviously. rrc.texas.gov is our official website. There's forms, there's maps. You can look at the Wichita Falls office. You can find whatever you need to know on rrc.texas.gov.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of great resources there, including the breakdown of all of our districts. You can actually see when we're referring them, so you can see exactly what those counties are and what the boundaries and all those different pieces of information, as well as contact information for your local district if you've got questions and things. So that is all there on our website. But as always, thank you so much for joining us. This is Texas Energy on Track, the official podcast of the Railroad Commission of Texas, and we will talk to y'all soon.